Have you ever looked at your paycheck and felt that physical sting when you see the line for federal income tax? You work 40, 50, 60 hours a week, and before a single dollar hits your bank account, the government has already taken their cut. Then, you go to the grocery store and pay sales tax. You buy a house and pay property tax. You finally save enough for a decent car, and you're hit with registration fees and more taxes. It feels like you're running a race where someone is constantly pulling on your shirt from behind. But then, you read a headline about a billionaire who paid $0 in federal income taxes while their net worth grew by $3 billion in a single year. You think, how is that legal? Is there some secret vault or a hidden island where the rules don't apply? The truth is actually much more boring and much more accessible than you think. It's a strategy called buy, borrow, die. It's not about offshore accounts or some get-out-of-jail-free card. It's about understanding the fundamental difference between income and wealth. My name is Zenvest, and I spend way too much time doing the math that most people find depressing, so you don't have to. Today, I'm going to show you the 3-step playbook the ultra-wealthy use to stay that way. Why your brain is biologically programmed to do the exact opposite. And how you can start using these same principles today, Evan, if you aren't a billionaire yet. Because if you want to stop feeling broke all the time and actually build something real, you have to stop playing the game by the rules designed for consumers and start playing by the rules designed for owners. Asterisk, before we get into the mechanics, we have to address the fake rich illusion. Most people think being rich means having a high income. They think it's about the $1,200 car payment for the gleaming monster truck with chrome everything. They think it's about the 3,000 square foot house with the manicured lawn and the solar panels that are actually just financial quicksand. But here is the reality. Income is what you get taxed on. Wealth is what you own. If you make $200,000 a year but spend $205,000 to maintain an Instagram-worthy lifestyle, you aren't rich. You're just a high-level employee for your creditors. The wealthy don't care about looking successful to their neighbors. They care about optionality. They care about accumulating choices. And those choices don't require nearly as much money as you've been led to believe. Let's follow our usual 2 households to see how this plays out. Maya, who understands the math, and Ryan and Jess, who are currently trapped in the status spending cycle. Asterisk step 1. By the asset accumulation phase. The first step in the playbook is the most obvious, yet it's where 90% of people fail. You have to buy. But the rich aren't buying what you're buying. When Ryan and Jess get a raise, they treat themselves. They buy a new SUV with a $900 monthly payment that will be worth half what they paid for it in 5 years. They buy branded luxury clothing and $200 designer t-shirts that are essentially the same as a $10 shirt from a normal store. They're buying depreciating asset things that lose value the second you take them home. Maya, on the other hand, is boring. She knows that every dollar spent on a logo is a dollar that isn't working for her future. She buys appreciating assets. She buys index funds. She buys real estate. She buys things that generate passive income. Here is the rich person's secret. You don't get taxed on things you own that go up in value. You only get taxed when you sell them. If Maya buys $100,000 worth of a diversified index fund and it grows to $250,000, she has $150,000 in unrealized gains. To the IRS, she hasn't made a dime of income yet. She is $150,000 wealthier, but her tax bill for that growth is exactly $0. Ryan and Jess, meanwhile, are working overtime to pay for that $70,000 truck. Every hour they work is taxed at their highest marginal rate. They are trading their most precious resource, their life, for a piece of metal that is actively burning money through depreciation, insurance, and $400 a month fuel costs. Maya is building a foundation that will eventually hit escape velocity. Once you hit $250,000 invested, the math changes. At an 8% return, that portfolio is generating $20,000 a year while she sleeps. That's $20,000 of wealth creation that the government can't touch because she hasn't sold anything. Asterisk step 2. Borrowed the liquidity cheat code. This is where the buy, borrow, die strategy gets interesting. Eventually, everyone needs cash. Maybe Maya wants to buy a house, or maybe she wants to travel. The normal personets look at Ryan and Jez would either sell their investments if they had any and pay a massive capital gains tax, or they'd just put it on a credit card at 22% interest. Or, worse, they'd take a loan against their 401k, borrowing from their future selves to fund a current fantasy. The wealthy do something different. They borrow against their assets. If you have a $10 million portfolio, you can go to a bank and say, I don't want to sell my stocks, but I need $1 million. The bank will give you a line of credit using your stocks as collateral. Why would you do this? 2 reasons. No taxes. A loan is not income. When the bank gives you $1 million, you don't owe the IRS a single cent in taxes on that money. The interest rate gap? If your portfolio is growing at 8% or 10% a year, and the interest rate on your loan is 5% or 6%, you are actually making money on the spread. This is the cheat code that allows the ultra-rich to live a luxury lifestyle without ever showing a high income on their tax returns. They aren't living off a paycheck. They're living off debt secured by appreciating assets. Now I know what you're thinking. Zenvest. I don't have a $10 million portfolio. How does this help me? It helps you because it changes how you view debt. Ryan and Jess use debt to buy trash, cars, furniture they financed like it's a house, and vacations they spend the next year paying off. That is bad debt because the thing they bought is worth less than the loan. But when you understand the borrow phase, you realize that your goal should be to build a portfolio large enough that you never have to sell it. Once you hit that $250,000 or $500,000 milestone, you gain options. You can use your wealth as leverage rather than just a savings account you plan to drain. Maya is already doing a version of this. Instead of financing a $50,000 car, she drives a 10-year-old vehicle and keeps her money in a high-yield savings account earning 4.2%. She isn't paying interest to a bank. She's collecting it. She is the one spinning the plates in her favor. Asterisk step 3. DIE. The ultimate tax reset. The final step is the most morbid, but it's the cornerstone of generational wealth. Die. Under current tax laws, there is something called a step-up in basis. Here is how it works. Let's say Maya bought her index funds for $100,000, and by the time she passes away, they are worth $5 million. If she had sold them the day before she died, she or her estate would owe capital gains tax on that $4.90 million profit. But because of the step-up in basis, when her heirs inherit those stocks, the cost basis resets to the current market value $5 million. If her kids sell the stocks the next day, they pay $0 in capital gains tax. The $4.9 million in growth an entire lifetime of wealth creation is never taxed, not once. This is how families become financially immortal. They buy assets. They borrow against them to live, and they pass them down. The cycle repeats, and the wealth grows snowballing in ways that will genuinely shock you. The rich understand that wealth is about accumulating choices, and the ultimate choice is providing a foundation for the next generation that isn't eroded by the taxman. Asterisk the psychological trap. Why most people can't do this SIF? The math is this simple. Why isn't everyone doing it? Why are most Americans retiring with less than $100,000 despite earning over $2 million in their lifetime? It's because of the psychological traps that kick in at every level. 1. The illusion of arrival. When you start to see success, maybe you hit $50,000 or $100,000, your brain starts playing tricks on you. You see your portfolio jump $5,000 in a day, and you think, I've made it. I deserved that $10,000 vacation. You spend the unrealized gain on a permanent expense, and you've just set your wealth-building journey back by years. 2. The comparison trap. We are hardwired to evaluate our success by comparing ourselves to others. You see your college roommate posting from a rooftop bar in Miami, or your neighbor pulling up in a brand new $70,000 truck. You feel behind, so you abandon your boring strategy to try and catch up. You start chasing meme stocks or taking on bad debt to look the part of a successful person. 3. The overconfidence monster. Especially around the $250,000 mark, you start thinking you're an investing genius. You stop buying the boring index funds and start dabbling in options trading or speculative real estate deals. This is when I can afford to lose. This becomes the most expensive sentence in your vocabulary. One bad move at this level can delete 2 to 5 years of compounding growth. The Zenvest reality check. What you can do today. Look, I'm not saying you have to live like a monk. I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy your life. What I'm saying is that you need to be honest about the trade-offs you are making. Every dollar you spend on status, spending the designer bag, the overpriced fast food, the cable package with 100 channels, you don't watch as a dollar that isn't going into your buy phase. If you want to use the buy, borrow, die strategy, you have to start with the buy. 1. Audit your energy exposure. Stop paying for things that don't bring you real happiness. Cancel the 7 streaming services you barely use. Stop the $12 to $20 fast food habit. Isn't quick and affordable anymore. It's just overpriced garbage. Point 2. Attack high-interest debt. If you're carrying a credit card balance at 22%, you are in a state of permanent financial emergency. Paying that off is mathematically identical to earning a guaranteed 22% return, tax-free. You cannot buy that return anywhere else. Attack it. 3. Build your boring foundation. Set up automated contributions to a diversified index fund and walk away. Don't check it every day. Don't let the volatility that feels terrifying make you sell at the bottom. The people who stay in are the ones who build actual financial security, instead of the appearance of it. Point 4. Reject the car payment trap. The average car payment is now over $700. Over 40 years, the average person spends more on cars than they would need to achieve complete financial independence. Drive the reliable used vehicle and invest the difference. 5. Redefine success. Success isn't the gleaming monster truck. Success is waking up without financial anxiety. Success is being able to quit a terrible job because you have options. Asterisk the buy, borrow, die strategy isn't a secret. It's a choice. It's a choice to prioritize your future self over your current impulses. Most people will spend the rest of 2026 and the rest of their lives confused about why they can't get ahead even though they make decent money. They'll keep performing wealth while their bank account stays empty. But you just spent the last 20 minutes understanding exactly how the game is played. The only question is whether that understanding turns into action or just into a really informed complaint at the dinner table. Maya is going to be fine. She adjusted early. She didn't panic. She just understood the math. Ryan and Jess will probably be fine too, but they'll spend their lives wondering why everything is so expensive, carrying that credit card balance a few months longer than they needed to. Don't be Ryan and Jess. Be Maya. Stay boring. Stay disciplined. And let compound interest do the heavy lifting for you. Because the hardest part isn't the strategy. The hardest part is not destroying it on your way to becoming a millionaire. Your future self is counting on the decision you make today. If this helped you see through the fake rich illusion, hit the like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive into the math of your money. I'll see you in the next one.